Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Challenge Portal training. We will begin shortly. Just a little bit of housekeeping as folks are starting to join us. This session is meant to be for our partners in the ISPs, the Internet Service Providers. So if you are not representing a service provider today, we do appreciate you choosing a different webinar. If you haven't joined one of our webinars before, you'll notice down along the bottom of your screen a Q&A box. We encourage you to use that for any questions that you may have. Once our partners at AppGeo show us the tools that they've created for us, we will do all of our questions and answers together at the end. So go ahead and use that to submit your questions, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. And we'll give it just another minute here. There were still a couple of people joining us, so we don't want anyone to miss any of this wonderful information. And then we'll go ahead and get started. Give it one more minute. Okay, thank you again for your patience. It's just a couple minutes after the top of the hour. Thank you for your attendance with us today. As a reminder for those who may have joined in the last few minutes, this is the Challenge Portal training with our partners at AppGeo for our partners in the ISPs. If you are not a member of one of our ISPs, we encourage you to find a different webinar to attend. And we also ask that you use the Q&A box that's located in the tool panel down at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop those in our Q&A box, and we will address all of those at the end of today's presentation. And it looks like we're pretty steady at our number of attendees, so we can go ahead and get started. By way of introduction, since I've already been talking at you for the last few minutes, my name is Erin Lorandos. I am the Digital Equity Program Manager with the Arizona Commerce Authority. And with me today, I have my team members, Perla and Crystal, who I'll allow for them to introduce themselves. And then we'll kick it over to Priya to introduce her team. Thanks again so much for joining us. Perla, would you like to start?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Perla Lopez. I'm the Broadband Program Manager with the Arizona Commerce Authority.
Hey, I'm Crystal Severse. I'm the Broadband Data and GIS Analyst with ACA.
Hello, everybody. My name is Priya Sankalya. I am a Senior Project Manager at the Sanborn Map Company, the AppGeo division. And I have with me my colleagues, Caitlin Severy and Emily Cassidaban, who are going to help us. Actually, Caitlin's going to walk us through the tool, the Broadband Navigator, which is what we've developed for the Arizona Commerce Authority for submitting your challenges and going through the entire BEAD state challenge process. So I will let Caitlin take over.
Thank you, Priya. I'm going to hop right in and do some overview of the Navigator and the challenge process. So let me just share my screen quickly here. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so when you open up the Arizona Broadband Navigator, this is the first screen that you will see. This is a splash screen with some useful information on the Navigator on served, underserved, and unserved addresses, just sort of what they mean, what the map is, what it's doing. You can exit out of the screen by pressing the X above, or you can press Do Not Show This Again and explore the map. You'll see the state of Arizona front and center. You'll notice that the state is purple. This is a thematic map, and it is showing service coverage with 100/20 per county. And you can see that legend on the side. So those with the darker color have a higher percentage of locations with service coverage of 120 at the least. You can change through these map themes above. There's also service coverage with 25/3 and number of providers. If you notice, the legends on the side changes to now reflect the data which you have switched to. You can also change the geographic regions on your map. By default, it is set to county, but you can select here and select any of these geographic regions. For instance, if we select Senate District, you'll notice the map changes to now display the Senate districts in Arizona. You also see that the data has changed to reflect the number of addresses served at 100/20 in those Senate districts. There are broadband and digital equity indicators on the left-hand side here. There's coverage, speed, subscription, income, race, and age. You can view them one at a time like we just did, or you can select data and view them all at once in a numeric format. By default, it is set to the entire state of Arizona, but if you would like, you can select one region on the map, and you can see that the data updates to show that county now. You can do that for any of the geographic dropdowns. If you select the Senate district, it will now update to show that Senate district. To return to a statewide view, you can select outside of the map, and it will return automatically. There's a funding toggle equipped at the top of the map. To turn it on, you simply select it, and you'll see a legend pop up that shows the funds and the color of the fund on the map. These are abbreviated, but if you need more information about the fund and its abbreviation, what its full name is, you can go to Help, select Funding Layer, and you will see that there are links to all of these funds, and you can find out some more information on their websites. This help area is also useful in the future. If you forget anything that I say today, it really walks through the map and all of its components and tools. There is also an About section. You can use this to learn more about your state's broadband navigator and your state's BEAD process. To turn the funding layer off, you can simply select it again, and it will turn it off. By now, you've probably seen these donut-like representations on the map. These are address clusters. The number in the middle represents the number of addresses in that cluster. The green, red, and yellow represents the percentage of that number of addresses that is served, underserved, or unserved. You can view them all together like this, or you can select here and view just one. You'll notice that now the representation and the color have changed. The number has changed in the middle to just show unserved addresses. You can also hide them all if you wish, or you can return to the default view by selecting all. These address clusters will change as you zoom in and out on the map. You can zoom by using your mouse or your mouse wheel, or the plus or minus here. You can also select a donut, and it will start zooming you into that location. You'll notice that the donuts are now starting to change in both composition and in number. As you continue to zoom in, you'll see the donuts disappear, and now you are seeing BSL points. Each point is a BSL on the map. The green is served, red is unserved, and yellow is underserved. If you select one of these, you will see the information for this address itself on the side. You'll see the address, the city, and the zip code. Its status as residential or non-residential. Its status as served, unserved, or underserved. And the providers, technology, speeds, and business or residential service provided at this location. If the location is funded, you will see that it is funded here, and you will also be shown the fund and the provider for that fund. In addition, you will see whether or not this point has been challenged. We do not have any challenge points yet, but when you do, you will see it as challenged below. Here is where the public can submit a speed test or report a service issue. Zooming is not the only way you can see an address. You can also search through the search bar above. So if we search here, can do, let's we'll just select one of these guys. So if you search above, it starts auto-populating, and you can see I selected from that list. You are zoomed automatically to the address, and you are given the information of the address on the left-hand side. The funding toggle stays on down to the address level, unlike the thematic map in the background. This is useful for seeing which points are funded at an overhead view, so you do not have to select on each point itself to view that information. Now that we see the map tools and we understand them, we can learn how to register for an account. You can do so by selecting the sign in button in the top right-hand corner. This brings you to a login page. Here, you can select request an account. It will ask you for your information, your full name, your email address, and your phone number. In organization category, you will choose broadband provider. And here, the organization dropdown is pre-populated with all the broadband providers filed in Arizona. It is in alphabetical order. You can scroll through and find your provider. Make sure to take a look and make sure it's not in there before selecting other if you do not see it. If you select other, you can enter your organization name manually below. After you have been accepted as an account, that name that you entered here manually will now show up in this organization list for others to choose from. Once I submit this, I will get an email letting me know that my submission was successful. The broadband office will take a look at it and accept or reject. If you have been accepted, you will get an email with a link to bring you to a page to finish your registration. If you have been rejected, you will get an email letting you know that you've been rejected. You can either re-request for a new account, or you can reach out to your broadband office to inquire why you have been rejected. We can log in as a user once you have registered your account completely. Did somebody have a question, or was that just feedback noise from somebody's microphone? Okay.
You're good. There was a
Okay.
background noise.
Okay. All right, great. So now we are logged in as an ISP. I'm logged in as a Cox Communications broadband provider. And here you can start with the challenge process. You can search for your addresses up above to challenge, or you can zoom into them physically on the map. So if I zoom in, I can select an address that I would like to challenge. On the bottom left-hand corner here, you will see Submit a Challenge. Select this button and verify that the address up top is the address that you would like to submit the challenge for. Here you have a drop-down to select your service issue. Select the drop-down and you will see the options to submit a service issue for. These are availability, data cap, business service only, speed, latency, technology, enforceable commitment, not a part of an enforceable commitment, planned service, location is a CAI, and location is not a CAI. Choose from one of these options, and you will be led to a screen to complete information for this type of service issue. I've selected availability, so I will need to select which availability I am challenging. The reason, and the property type. This is non-residential. Go to next, and you will be asked to submit evidence for your challenge. The text here is dynamic, so it changes based on the type of service issue you are submitting. If we go back and we choose another type, you will see that the text has now changed for a data cap submission. You can choose your files here and select Open. And you will see that the download was successful with a green check mark. It does say allowed files PDF right now, but those will be updating to allow more files in the future. You can submit up to 5 different files. It has to be under 5 megabits for all 5. We can select submit. And you'll see that the challenge has been submitted successfully. In addition to singular challenges, you can also submit bulk challenges. So if we select the draw tool here, you can draw around the area that you wish to submit a challenge for. Double click to close your polygon. If you have drawn the area by mistake, you can select the delete or the clear button on the bottom, and it automatically deletes the polygon, and you can restart. Select submit a challenge. And you can choose from 3 service issues to submit a bulk challenge for, which is enforceable commitment, not a part of an enforceable commitment, or planned service. If we select enforceable commitment, you'll be asked to name the enforceable commitment, the technology being built, and the planned upload and download speeds. Review the certification of individual or certifying official and Privacy Act statement. Select next. And you'll be asked to submit evidence for your bulk challenge. Choose your files and select submit.
I just want to pipe in here real quick to add to the bulk challenge. The evidence submission needs to be related to the BSLs that are in that challenge. So, just so you understand, like when you are drawing that polygon, whatever evidence you're submitting, if it is, an area that you have a planned service, then you can, if you have a contract or you have any evidence that's supporting that there is already a planned service there, then it needs to be associated with all of those locations. So that's the way we are funneling these challenges. If we accepted data from ISPs that was just listing out location IDs, that we very hard to associate evidence with all of those, and that's why everything stays within the application and gets associated with the BSL. So this sort of just makes the process a little more streamlined. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay, thank you. So we can view the challenges we have just created by going to our challenge dashboard. You can do this by selecting the icon in the top right-hand corner and going down to challenge dashboard. Here, we can review those challenges that we have just created in the created challenges. If we select them, we can see the evidence that we attached, and we can see the status. We can also see all the information about the challenge that we made. As you work through, you will see that your challenge status is updated. So currently, this challenge was submitted by us. The broadband office had accepted the evidence, and now it is currently awaiting rebuttal. So you can track the status of it, and you can see here there is a time change for each step of the way. Here is where your rebuttals as an ISP will get put as well. Any challenges made against your ISP will be and are accepted, their evidence is accepted by the broadband office, will be put in your awaiting rebuttal section. Here you can view them.
So
you can
basically,
select.
Caitlin, you made these challenges earlier and you populated it in the dashboard, right? Just so, so people understand that that's what you did.
Yes, I'm so sorry. To be clear, these are challenges that were made. I created them earlier from a different account towards Cox Communication. So I challenged Cox Communication as an availability challenge for both of these. So now they have been accepted by the broadband office and they're being put in the Cox Communication challenge dashboard to be able to be rebut. Is that clear, Priya?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yes. So here you have the option to sustain or rebut. You can select your challenge and you can view it, and you can decide whether or not you want to rebut or sustain this challenge. To rebut the challenge, select rebut, and it will ask you to upload some evidence for your rebuttal. Choose your file. And select submit. That will now be moved down to your rebutted challenges section. You can see where it is, you can open it, and you can also see the status. It has been rebutted. You can also sustain a rebuttal. You can choose to not rebut it. So if you select sustain, this will now be moved down to completed, and it will be under rebuttal waived. For a rebutted challenge, if the broadband office goes in and accepts them, which I'm going to do on a different screen here. Just refresh my screen here. If the broadband office has gone in and accepted the rebuttal, it will be moved down from rebutted challenges down to completed. And now you can see it here as rebuttal accepted. If the broadband office rejects it, it will move down to completed as rebuttal rejected. The rebuttals in your dashboard are not the only rebuttals that you're able to make. These rebuttals in the dashboard are just for those against an ISP directly. So these would be any for speed, latency, data cap, technology, business service only, and availability. Those that are for enforceable commitment, not a part of an enforceable commitment, location is a CAI, location is not a CAI, and plan service will go to open rebuttals. If you select open rebuttals, you can view any of those challenge type here. These are able to be rebut by any registered user with the correct evidence. To do so, you can select. You can choose your file, add it, and submit it in the same way that we did the rebuttal in the dashboard. This will also get sent to the broadband office to accept or reject. It will remain in open rebuttals until it has either been accepted or rejected, or until the rebuttal period is over. That's a bit of an overview of everything. I want to give people a couple minutes to ask some questions if they have them. And I'll turn it back over.
I think there was one question about filtering by unserved and underserved together. So Caitlin, if you want to just go back to the map, I think you can't look at them together. You can see either one or the other, and then or all of them. So if you want to just click on that, yeah. So you can see just the unserved, just the underserved, or none of them or all of them. So hopefully that answers the question.
I also actually want to touch on something in the dashboard quickly that I'm realizing that I had not described, is that you can also search by challenge ID up top or by address by changing between these two. And you can also sort on here. And the last thing I want to discuss is you can assign users within your organization. So you can assign users here. Oops. And then if you press assign to me, it should filter. I did see a little error there. I think they're making deployments, but it should filter and let you know who is assigned to that. Or if you select assign to me, you'll get the ones that you were assigned to specifically.
So basically what we recommend is that when you register as a user, you make sure that you look in the drop down and pick the name of the ISP, and there can be multiple users who are registering for the same ISP. And then if you have 3 or 4 folks who are going to be using the dashboard, you'll all be able to see the dashboard. Everybody looks at the same dashboard, but then you'll see what's assigned to you, what's assigned to somebody else. Somebody can be the person who's responsible for creating the challenges, and then maybe you want to comment about some specific challenge and ask somebody about it, so you assign it to them. So there's a lot of that communication that can happen within the dashboard itself. Erin or anybody, did you want to manage the questions or?
Yes. Sorry, we're just letting you guys answer the one that you guys were talking about, which was the filtering by unserved and underserved. We're gonna just really quick review some of the questions that we have already answered, just because we shared already the website link. So one of the questions from Robin was, where do we access the portal? I shared the link in the chat, as well as Erin did, for everyone's access to the portal. As well as, is there a way to download a list of the location IDs that are awaiting rebuttal? Priya answered, unfortunately not. You can only view them in the dashboard. And then we're gonna go ahead and go over our open questions. This one's from Kate Sneed. If we are a provider that provides service, but the map is showing unserved, which sub option do we choose under availability? How can we submit bulk challenges for availability type? Are there requirements for the evidence, like we need to have the BSL on each page of evidence, etc.? I'm asking these specifically due to experience in other states.
Kate, this is Sandeep. Sorry, I'm not on the video. I'm attending a conference in Dallas, so I'll try to answer that question. So yes, if you are expanding your market right now, and that's not showing up in the BSL, even though we are using the BDC data 3.2, which is the recent version, which was released in January, if we are still missing some of those BSLs, which Comcast is covering right now, I would highly recommend that submit that as an availability challenge. When you are uploading the evidence, and if you select a bulk BSL, and you are uploading the evidence, it doesn't have to be a single BSL. You can upload other format document, as AppGeo team mentioned. So it can be an Excel document with what BSL you are submitting for that whole geographical area, like around that whole polygon. One of the question I saw that in the chat box, and I want to clarify that we intentionally did not keep up the option of uploading a CSV file. Learn from our mistake from different entity and different states around the nation who already ran their challenge process. In few instances, what happened on the last day of the challenge process, a provider uploaded a massive amount of data. And most of those data the data was not cleaned, and it did not match with the BSL IDs. And the state broadband office had to clean that data and send that data for rebuttal to the other ISP or to the local government, or put it in the map. This is a huge task when we are following the entire guideline saying that the moment challenge is submitted, other party will be allotted and the rebuttal period start from there for 15 days. This is a very, very daunting task on our end, or any other state broadband end. So you will see very less amount of uploading CSV from now on for any other state who are opening their challenge process. So it was intentionally not being kept as an option. So I would recommend for the ISPs here in Arizona, when you want to submit for a bulk area challenge, and those are in different parts of the state, go to the map level, select a polygon. When you select a polygon, it will give you a list underneath. You can always export that list and work on your side before you upload that polygon in there. But for ACA broadband challenge process, that will be on the option. You have to select a polygon and then upload the evidence. I think that answers some of the questions on the chat, but happy to take any follow-up questions on that.
Sandeep, Kate raised her hand, so we're gonna allow her to do the
Yes.
follow-up for her question.
Before you answer, Kate, before you jump in, I just want to, Sandeep, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify a few things that you said. You cannot upload an Excel file. So please note that it's only a PDF. And based on NTIA's guidance from last week from the webinar, we are going to extend that to just other formats like JPEGs and bitmaps, but not a spreadsheet. So we won't be accepting any spreadsheets from you. And you cannot download anything either. So I just want to be sure that when you do a bulk challenge, you go to the area, you draw the polygon like Caitlin showed. You kind of have to, click on like 4 points at least to then complete the circle. And when you draw that polygon, it will select the BSLs. And then when you go to the next step, it kind of lists them out, but then you have to submit evidence for all those BSLs. So we kind of are expecting that you do your homework a little bit in advance and then submit that evidence associated with that set of BSLs. And so that just makes it much easier for the broadband office to review that evidence, instead of you're providing data, which then has to be cleaned and parsed and everything and the evidence associated. And this is all based on NTIA guidance. So hopefully you'll understand that the broadband office has a pretty hefty task in front of them. So I hope that clarifies things. And Kate, yeah, any further questions from you, we're happy to take.
Yeah, thank you so much to all of you. And it does, but it also actually creates quite some work confusion. So I totally understand that we can't do a CSV. We've done that in other states that we have to, do it differently. And drawing the, polygon on the map is totally fine. But just to clarify, because Sandeep said we can then export the list, but you're saying no, we can't in order to double check.
No, you can't.
Kate, I apologize. I meant to say that you can actually view the list when you select the polygon. I didn't mean to say that you can export. I apologize about that.
I mean,
Okay.
Caitlin, do you want to show that step again? That might help. I feel like maybe we should just go over it again.
Sure.
No, I totally, I understand what she's saying. and I don't, happy to take the demo, but don't need it. I just was trying to get clarity on if we could export to make sure that our, again, like, the neighborhood she's selecting here is could be potentially a pretty large neighborhood with a lot. And so in some other states, we've been able to at least download the list to make sure that our evidence file matches exactly every single one of those 30 or 50 that are selected. I mean, in here, there's 221 locations selected. So
yeah.
I completely agree with you, Kate, and this is why we kept the office hours. I do understand there are like multiple ISPs currently attending this call. So if you have to, if you would like to any ISP for that in that instant want to talk to us on one-on-one, happy to help through the office hour or any other mechanism. We can set up a individual meeting and go from there.
Okay, and part of my question back to the you explained around the, if we have service and we're providing it. Caitlin, would you mind showing again the subcategories under availability? If you select availability as your challenge type.
Sorry, my internet's running a little slow. Okay. These?
Yep.
Oops, go back. Okay, there, yeah.
So here, there's not like if I as the provider am saying we already provide service at this location and I have a copy of a redacted bill, which of these reasons should I pick? None of them seem to make sense to me because we're not, it's more of a we provide service here.
Would that be a no, it's not a planned service challenge either. Can you go back, Caitlin, and look at the challenges itself?
again, just from experience, what we've seen in
Eh,
other states is
Mhm.
that they added under availability.
Mhm.
There was one here that, service already exists, kind of a thing.
Okay, so you is that what you've submitted in other states, Kate?
Yes.
So if you picked, because you are saying that you have service, you pick availability as the challenge, and then in the next screen in the reason, it would be, what is the reason?
A couple different states have done it differently. I can send an email to Sandeep with that information, but some have
That would
been,
be helpful. Yeah, if you could do
Okay.
that would be helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that, this is the most recent version, et cetera, but as I'm sure you all are very aware, we submit certain stuff to the FCC and it doesn't always get translated
Yep.
correctly all the way down. So we've seen the need to challenge and say we actually already are providing at this location.
Okay, that'd be helpful. Thank you so much.
And then my one last question was around the in the volume 1, it says that redacted information cannot be, it's not, let's see, let me look, it's on page 18. It says evidence submitted falls within the category stated in the NTIB challenge process policy notice, and the document is unredacted and dated. Again, we have the ability to submit actual copies of customer bills in situations where we already provide service, but those by law, federal law, have to be unredacted. So I just wanted to make sure that that wouldn't be a problem.
To answer that question, we have to get some kind of approval because we have been clearly told by NTIA that no changes are allowed on volume 1. But I understand, I think I hear that from multiple other states as well. I will send an email to NTIA and get this thing, see what their feedback is. I think they will allow, but again, we have to follow up with you all on that, and we'll send a mass email out mentioning that the redacted version is accepted.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess just one last question around the requirements for the evidence, like, in other states, if for instance, we did have a redacted bill, we were required to then have the BSL ID listed on every single page of the PDF. And I just didn't see any specific requirements like that in volume 1. And I didn't know if you all had any specific requirements that were maybe somewhere else or.
Kate, we don't have that. So I think the best case scenario would be when you are submitting the BSL ID as a challenge, if you can attach the address right next to it, I think that would be the best case scenario.
Thank you.
Is somebody monitoring the questions?
Yes. Sorry about that. We are going to allow for this next question to be asked from this attendee. From the anonymous attendee, we got a question asking, I believe you showed bulk challenges for areas that are incorrectly marked as unserved or underserved. How do we bulk areas incorrectly marked served? And we'll allow for this person to also raise their hand to join the call if they would like to follow up.
I think we just answered that. According to NTIA's sort of acceptable or permissible challenges, their most recent policy update, I mean, an availability challenge is still that broadband service identified is offered, is not offered, sorry. So in the case that a service is offered, I'm kind of thinking that that should be what Priya was saying, a planned service, even though that's in the most recent FCC Fabric Data version 4. That's not the Fabric version that we're using currently. Sandeep, you're more than welcome to jump in if you don't think that that's the right action.
No, Crystal, you are right on point. So yeah, that would be my response as well.
Okay. So in those cases, that would be, I feel most comfortable saying that that could be a plan service challenge. Since those options aren't available with the availability challenge. And that's because we are going with NTIA's guideline and template.
Yeah, and as Kate actually asked a great question regarding that as well. If the service is already available, it's been deployed, we will work on our side and see what category can be selected. But also, if it's a service already available tab, we can create that. You can also submit a challenge under that.
Thank you guys for that. Our next question from Joshua is, so one issue that some companies had with the FCC BDC process was thousands of erroneous challenges a month. What safeguards are in place? I want to say that's against something like this happening. An example was BA Telecom company was challenged that they did not have ever service in an area. In almost every photo evidence submitted, there was a PED with the company being challenged name on it. Each challenge had to be responded to individually, which consumed a lot of man hours to deal with. Joshua, there's a few misspellings that I was wondering if you could come on to the panelist so that we can unmute you and possibly ask your question. Just because I don't want to misinterpret the question in the way that you had asked it. So I'm going to go ahead and allow you to come up to the stage.
And I kind of understand, but go ahead, Joshua.
Essentially what it was is just like the way the BDC had it set up, like all those challenges were individual challenges that had to be responded to individually. And essentially they were receiving like literally thousands a month with like evidence that says, you're not here or you can't provide service. And they literally were like providing photos that had their plant in the photo. And so they spent, months and months and months resolving all these things until finally, I don't know exactly what the resolution was. It wasn't it's a company I work with closely and interact with regularly, but we didn't hear the exact specifics of what was done to kind of stop it. And it just kind of stopped after a while, and we know action was taken. So I just wonder, is there a mechanism, like is there some capacity where someone could get in and make the challenges that we would have to respond to individually, or would there be some entity we can go and like throw a flag with and be like, hey, look, someone's just attacking us repeatedly, and can we do something about it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, Priya, you've already kind of touched on it, some of the safeguards that we have with the Polygon bulk challenge submission. Would you mind kind of covering that again, the reason behind that, to avoid bulk, like, a massive amount of challenges that are not legitimate? AppGeo's reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that there have been situations where ISPs have essentially, uploaded their entire service area as a challenge, as an enforceable commitment challenge, which then becomes really hard for the broadband office to deal with and, identify what evidence is associated with what BSL. And I think that's the main reason why we're trying to sort of safeguard it. I mean, put some guardrails around this process, is that I'm sorry, but it might have to be multiple service areas that you might have to draw these polygons along and then submit the evidence based on that. So that's just basically the way NTIA has structured this, and we're trying to make it a little more streamlined.
Thank you so much, Joshua. There's sorry, Crystal, were you going to say something?
I was just going to follow up. Yeah, Joshua, I hope that answers your question.
It does.
We'll continue with the next one. Is there a way to submit challenges in bulk without clicking points on a map or drawing a polygon? We may be facing a situation where we have to file thousands of locations due to an enforceable commitment that are not continuous. Thank you.
I think it's that same answer. I know that everybody's asking that, but yeah, the same answer. You just have to draw those polygons and submit the challenge based on the associated with the BSLs in that polygon.
Austin does want to follow up with his question, so we're gonna allow him to come up to the stage as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. I did just set up an office hours for later this later this afternoon with you guys. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're handling this the right way, because we have an EACAM enforceable commitment, and it's going to be, almost 10,000 addresses. And so I just want to make sure we're giving those to you the best way for your end, and, both save time from both your side and my side. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Austin. Priya or Crystal, do you guys have any follow-up with that?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Alrighty. I know we're coming up shorter on time. We're going to try to continue with the rest of the questions. And then if there's time, we'll review some of the questions that have already been answered. We are in the talks of possibly hosting another one of these webinars if we're not able to continue the rest of this session. Thank you, guys. The next question is, can an ISP register for multiple accounts?
Yes, that you can have multiple users, but you should make sure that you are picking the same ISP name, the provider name in the list. And I don't know, Caitlin, if you want to quickly, show that while I'm talking. But the point here is that if you have, if you want to be able to see all the challenges associated with a single ISP in the same dashboard, then you would have to pick that name. So when you're going through the user registration process, it could be multiple folks from that same ISP, but make sure that you just pick the same provider name. And, we've populated that list of provider names from your, your submissions to the FCC. So there might be some duplicates because it might be misspelled. So then, make sure that you are all on the same page about which one you're picking, and then just pick that same one if you want to be able to see the information in your dashboard.
Perfect. Thank you so much. In a similar way, we also have a question that says, can one register for more than one ISP?
Yes, you can, but unfortunately, you'll have to use a different email account. So, if you've got separate email accounts, that, you'll be receiving notifications. So, the same person can't be receiving notifications from the dashboard from two different, from the navigator from two different dashboards.
And I would add to use that ISP's email address. That will help our office when we're approving these registrations.
Thank you guys for that. We do have one more question here regarding the bulk challenge. I know you guys have answered that a few times here, but if this person, it's under the anonymous attendee, so if this person wants to add any follow-up to this question, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and we can bring you up to the stage. But the question is there a way to submit a bulk challenge of multiple locations, or will each challenge need to be done individually?
You can submit a bulk challenge the way we've shown. You draw a polygon, select the all the BSLs in that polygon will get selected, and then you can submit the challenge based on those, for that area, for those BSLs.
When checking availability at a household for the challenge, does the provided documentation need to be from the provider's direct website, or are sites like broadbandnow.com accepted?
Unfortunately, I think Sandeep has already stepped out, and I was hoping that he would be able to answer this question. Our volume 1 is posted, and it has specific evidence types for a planned service. And so I think that Broadband Now would be accepted as long as NTIA doesn't have any restrictions on it. If there's a change to that, I'll certainly email you.
Thank you for that, Crystal. Well, our follow-up question here is there some kind of protection in place for repeat challenges? For example, in FCC, BDC challenges are only limited to a person's persistence.
I'm not sure I completely understand, and Crystal, I don't know if you've got any more insight, but if you submit a challenge and it gets rejected, and the rejection will actually have a reason. So the broadband office will give you a reason, for example, if there's insufficient evidence, and then you can resubmit the challenge if you know, with better evidence, that then that can get accepted.
I have also brought up Katrina to the stage, so if you'd like to clarify any parts of your question, you're more than welcome to. Alrighty, we will continue moving forward. The next question is, can multiple people from the same ISP register? Will everyone from the ISP see all the challenges?
Yes, if you're registered, you will be able to see them.
Perfect. Do you have any requirements for ISPs to have a D-tier license for the fabric data?
To use the navigator, you don't need to have a license. You can, you're just using the navigator, and we are using the state's license to view the locations, but you don't need a license for using it.
What version of the FCC fabric is the state using?
So we're using Fabric version 3. Sandeep says 3.2. So as of, I believe it's July 2023, version 4 of the CostQuest data is already out, but there's no BDC data to attach to that. So that's why we're not using Fabric version 4.
Thank you, Crystal. What CostQuest license does the state have?
We have all of them. So whatever CostQuest comes out with is what we have access to. We currently have CostQuest version 4 license, but like I said, there's no BDC data attached to that or associated with that. So there's no way we could use it for the challenge process.
Thank you. Brittany asked, when does the challenge process begin and end?
Great question. So the challenge, the Navigator portal will be open March 15th. That's when the challenge process officially begins. The last day to submit a challenge is May 14th.
We have a clarification question here from Kate. On multiple logins for a company, did you say we cannot use the same email address?
No, if you are a user who's wanting to log in for a different organization, then you'd have to use a different email. But if it's for the same, and I hopefully that made sense. If you say you're working for Cox and for Verizon and you wanted to access both those dashboards, you'd have to use 2 different emails.
Thank you, Priya. Our next question is, can more than one person submit challenges in the portal at the same time?
Yes.
And our last question here is, at the time of challenge submission, can you save the form or do you have to submit right away?
Yeah, so this had actually come up last week as well. We highly recommend that you sort of do your homework and prep, and when you log in and sort of before you log in, have everything ready, so that then you can sort of go through the challenge process and submit it at once, because it's not going to save your session, but if you walk away for a little bit and come back, it'll still be there. But if you don't, you might lose some work. So we highly recommend that you do it all at once.
Thank you so much, Priya and Caitlin, for joining us for this session. And we really appreciate everyone's time here. To all of our attendees joining us today, we have 4 minutes left of this webinar. And if there's any other questions, please put them in the chat. In the meantime, I'll talk so that you guys have some time to put your questions in there. If you'd like to learn more about the challenge process, all the information can be found on our website at Arizona Commerce Broadband Office. That is put in the chat as well. The link for that, the link for the challenge portal is available on our website, as well as information about the Quest tier licenses, and the office hours are also available every Tuesday for 2 hours. Our broadband office allocates 30 minutes within those 2 hours to anyone who registers for time with the broadband office. So we'll meet you guys there and answer any follow-up questions that you have. Other than that, I guess I can't talk for longer than a minute, but if you have any additional questions, we'll stay on for the next 3 minutes and answer anything else. Thank you all for your time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, there's a question from Robin in the chat. Says, can you email this recording to attendees? The recordings will be placed on our website as well at the same link. So you'll be able to review them there along with all of the challenge process documentation. Thank you, Robin. Oh, Josh, I'm going to answer yours because English major, here's what I always say. I may be able to write well, but that doesn't mean I always talk good. So we got you. We'll figure it out together. Okay. Thank you, Joshua.
You did great, Joshua. I appreciate your patience with me too, because I was all over the place with trying to figure out my wording as well. We do have a question from Ben Blink here. Did I hear correctly that you will be adding a new drop-down option for providers who are challenging locations because they already serve those locations as already served?
I'm just going to go back to the team and make sure that we can do that. Look at, volume 1 guidance, look at NTIA guidance, and, if we have to add it, we will, but I'm not going to promise it at this moment.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to agree with Priya. I'm not sure if that requires an edit to volume 1, which would take a really long time to get approved since it's already an approved document. If NTIA doesn't see an issue with adding that as a type of availability challenge, then we'll plan to do that. But right now, I would just make those challenges through the planned service challenge type.
We have just a few seconds left. So we have, okay, one more question here. What's the best and latest resource for what is acceptable evidence for a challenge? With a PDF upload, there's a risk that the evidence is not aligned with the latest rules.
A PDF is not, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you mean by not aligned with the latest rules.
Yeah, we'll allow for Ben to come up if he wants to clarify that question for us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Sorry, I meant that with a PDF, you can upload basically anything, and it may or may not be, the evidence may not be correct or sufficient for a specific challenge. So I know that I believe there's like NTA guidance that's issued and other things about the challenge, but is it volume 1? What's where we should go if we want to challenge a location? Where should we go to make sure that what we're uploading is permissible and will be favorably reviewed by the ACA?
So the PDF is just the file type, Ben. but the volume 1 has listed what is acceptable evidence. So there will be a list in volume 1, as also in the user guide on the website. Everything's on the website about what is actually acceptable evidence. So when it's reviewed, when the challenge is reviewed by ACA, they will be actually looking at the PDF, which is just the file, but it needs to be what's been required of for that specific challenge.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to add, so we've taken the table that was in volume 1 and turned it into a PDF on our website, not to confuse you any further, but so that table is available on our website as a quick reference, but that is the same table that's found in volume 1, and it's the same table that we've put into the user guide for the navigator.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for joining us and asking those additional questions. They were really great questions, and that is the end of our session. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.